All right. Welcome to the LA Soccer Hub Show. My name is Gio Garcia. Today is Monday, February 22nd, coming to the last week of February. I love February because it's a great month. It's also my birthday month. I just want to squeeze that in there. So that's why I like it. But yeah, today we're talking LA Galaxy, and we got Alicia Rodriguez again, the knowledgeable, well liked, well studious of the game. Alicia, how you doing?
Doing well. Happy birthday, whenever it may be in February.
It passed. It passed. It passed.
Okay, happy
Last
belated birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. It was good. But I've just been spending time with family and hanging out with them. But I'm like, man, February is such a short month. You know,
Yeah.
I wish it was longer. But that's just a personal thing, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of LA Galaxy things going on. Obviously, we'll talk about Christian Pavone and what's going on with that. It's getting more intense. I feel like more intense. Just the dad's involved now. There's a lot of things going on with that, but also I know last week the LA Galaxy, they talked about they announced a few signings, and I want to talk about those. Alex Alcala, I'm not sure how familiar you are with him, but I've been told that he's referred to as the Mexican Messi. And I'm not putting that name on him, but that's just what I've been told. And I know Dennis DeClose recruited him because he's seen him play with the Mexican national team and what he brings to the table. So now he signs with LA Galaxy too. I know they had just recently brought him in last season, right? And he has an Instagram that's incredible. If you haven't followed him on Instagram, you have to follow him because he has incredible highlights. He's just like a short little kid, but he's just cutting through and scoring all these goals, and he's really exciting to see. And I think players that are that young, you want to see if they can live up to the potential.
Yeah, he's somebody I think who's a really promising prospect, and I think we should probably emphasize the prospect part of it. He
Mhm.
has turned pro. He signed a professional deal with LA Galaxy too. I think the idea is to kind of bring him along a little bit slowly. There's no need to kind of rush him in there and expect him to play for the first team right away. I think the idea is get him some minutes with Los Dos this year, see what happens. If he really blossoms, then maybe they'll talk about moving him up in the future. But the expectation, and the Galaxy have not confirmed it, but it's been widely reported in the Mexican press that the Galaxy have an understanding with Manchester City that when Alcala turns 18, he will go to Manchester City if Manchester City want him at that point. Obviously, a lot of things can happen in a few years. There are prospects who look great at 15 and then they don't really pan out. But if he really is somebody that is being touted as having, that messy name tied to him in any way, shape, or form, and he comes good, this will be a stop of a few years for him with the Galaxy. And then if he looks like he'll make the grade in Europe, then he'll be moving on to Europe in a few years.
Yeah, and I think this is also, you mentioned that thing about, Manchester City wanting him. I think that's big, right? You also don't want to put too much pressure on him, but I also want to see how, the LA Galaxy are able to, help him through that process, to get up to that point, because, that tells you if you get a young player that is at 15 and he grows within your organization, within the system, and you eventually do get him out there, because he is coming with a lot of noise. But I'm with you. There's expectation. LA Galaxy too. You work him in, you see what he can do. I mean, because his highlights and everything, he's playing with kids above his age, and everything and what he's doing is impressive. And I just want to see how he's able, when he's able to go to, if it is Manchester City or club in Europe when he turns 18. I want to see how that process goes for him.
Yeah, for sure. And it's worth noting he's a California native, so he's played for the Mexican youth national teams, but he is born and raised in California. So, he's not going to have like a cultural shock or anything like that. Like, I mean, both here and then if he were to go to Man City, it's not like he has to learn the language or anything like that. Like that stuff should be all said. It's not really going to be a big difference. And if anything, I think staying in California will give him an opportunity to hopefully mature without having a lot of pressure on him and kind of grow up a little bit in all facets. And then yeah, we'll see what happens. But I expect him to get plenty of playing time for Los Dos this year. They are probably going to have a little bit more of an expanded squad this year if everything goes right and we don't have a huge shutdown in the middle of the season again. But I do expect he'll get a good run during the season.
Yeah, I don't really watch as much as Los Dos. I know as you do, and you know how well informed you are. But he is definitely a kid. I'm definitely gonna want to keep my eye on and see how he does. Because I even remember, I think the last time I did watch him was when Efrain Alvarez was playing with them, and the stuff he was doing, with the LA Galaxy too. Now, I'm excited to see Alex Alcala how he does, and he's also from Stockton, California. And Stockton. I know only reason I know Stockton is UFC fighter Nate Diaz is from there. So, you got some tough guys that come out of there, and it's cool that you see some of that, talent from California stay here, and able to be produced through the LA Galaxy. Another player that they announced last week, that had been in the system is Carlos Harvey. He's now going to be on the first team. What do you make of Carlos Harvey being with the team?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to bring him back. He was on loan for 2 years from Panamanian side Tauro FC. I always have trouble with
Mm-hmm.
that syllable in
The
Spanish for
tongue
something.
twister, yeah.
Tauro FC. Um, but he's signed outright to the Galaxy now, so he's no longer on loan. And he's somebody who's already kind of come through the pipeline, right? Like he spent his first season with Los Dos. He started out the season last year with them, and then he was brought on another loan, a loan within a loan, to the Galaxy first team, and he got limited minutes. He only got one start, but his one start happened to be the game when the last game before Guillermo Barros Schelotto was fired. So that was a pretty bad game. Harvey didn't look great in that game, but I think we can maybe give him a little bit of an excuse because it was a pretty trying night for a lot of people that night. But yeah, I mean, he's young. I think he just turned 21. I think they see him as a defensive midfielder who really has the potential for a lot of growth. And it sounds like, with the likes of Perry Kitchen and Joe Corona no longer on the squad, that kind of clears the way for Carlos to get some more playing time. I don't know if he'll necessarily be a starter this year, but I think he's going to definitely play an increased number of minutes. And then if he does kind of take off and sort of find his footing, then, it's possible he could really settle in and become a starter, but we'll have to see on that front.
Yeah, yeah, and he's definitely going to be one of those players that's definitely going to have to earn, some of that playing time, and he's going to have to fight for that playing time. Obviously, one thing he's familiar with the LA Galaxy. Now it's just how he adjusts to Greg Vanney and Greg Vanney's system. I think that's just one of the things that that he's going to just have to adjust to. But it's nothing going to be too difficult. And you're starting to see some of the pieces come together. For the LA Galaxy. And I like that they're making these announcements. I think they've been very consistent leading up to the way. And I know there's more announcements coming, and obviously the biggest one, we're still waiting with that third DP. If it's going to be Pavone or if it's going to be someone else. But we also got Julian Araujo, who just changed his number. He's throwing things in there as well. And I just want to read a quote that he said, about changing his number. He said, "New season, new number, same goal this year. This is dedicated to my brother, Michael Taylor. I know you're watching from above." Obviously, it's a big significance there. I know, I'm assuming, his friend, brother passed away. And just to have that connection, to change your number for your friend, I'm assuming that he wore that number. It's just very powerful. And I think, I expected Joe Araujo to, just to increase his level of play from what we've seen from last year. And I think one of those big things that I want to see from him, is limit some of those physical mistakes that he has. But what do you make of him changing his number?
Well, I mean, players change numbers for lots of reasons. I think this is a great tribute to somebody who was obviously very important to him, and in that way, it's fantastic. I think there's also been press this week. Kevin Baxter of the LA Times wrote a feature about Julian's work with farm workers from his hometown and thereabouts. People who really are kind of forgotten in a lot of ways by the rest of society, and they play such an important role in how we end up with food in our fridges and all that kind of thing, and we really don't give them nearly enough support for what's very dangerous work. And so I think I don't want to overstate it, but I think to an extent, his advocacy over the last year or two, and his willingness to kind of speak up for people who need support, and really trying to give back to the community that he came from, I think is a really great sign, because it's very easy if you're a professional soccer player. Many of us who came from humble beginnings, it's very easy to kind of move on and not have to worry about kind of where you came from. And I got my life now, I got to worry about becoming a starter, that kind of thing. He's not doing it like that. He wants to make use of his platform now, and I think that's incredibly powerful. And so I think it's not necessarily connecting that to his play on the field, but to me, that sort of indicates he's becoming more mature. And I think that that probably will pay off in some ways on the field over time, because I think, he's kind of growing up before our eyes, and it's pretty impressive to see. And I think it's, fantastic to see the ways that he's lending his voice right now. Um, you can't help but want to root for him when he does stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. And he was on the front page of the LA Times, which is big. And obviously, Vicky, who's the LA Galaxy, press, and with the media team there, she tweeted that, and I saw that. And I think it's and shout out to Kevin Baxter for writing that story as well. Stories like that just make you want to root for a player like that. You want it, because it's, to him, to a player like that, at least from my eyes, is like he's playing for his city. He's playing for Lompoc, right? Apologize if I butchered the name, but he has a whole city, has a whole town. He gives back, obviously, and this is nothing new. He's done this last year, right? He's used his platform before, and not every player has to do it. And obviously, I don't feel like he's doing this for media attention or anything like that. That's not the case with him. This is something that's rooted in him. This is something that he wants to do for his people, where he comes from, and for his background, and which I love and I applaud. Because it's not everybody, is willing, or not everybody is capable of doing that. Because I don't feel like every athlete should do that, but I think the athletes that do that and have that connection, those roots with the community, you give a lot of hope to those people that are struggling. You give a lot of hope. They're like, hey, Julian Araujo, who plays for the LA Galaxy, still comes back from Lompoc. I didn't know Lompoc until Julian Araujo played for the LA Galaxy, to be honest. Now I know Lompoc, and I know a lot of people that read the LA Times know Lompoc, and I'm pretty sure every LA Galaxy fan knows of Lompoc, and those are the things that really, really inspire people that come from there. Like, Jonah Araujo, gives me inspiration to eventually reach my dreams, whether if it's a soccer player, lawyer, whatever. I just applaud the work that Jonah Araujo is doing for his community.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I mean, I think one of the things when you're talking about farm workers and the farm worker community is it can be really hard to kind of break out of the really localized community. I didn't grow up in California. I grew up in Michigan, but we also have a farm worker population, and it's difficult if you're a child of farm workers to kind of find a career path. Often you're moving around a lot. I know it's a little bit different in the Central Valley, but people move around a lot when they're farm workers. Again, it's very dangerous work. It literally will shave years off your life. Just really physically taxing. You're in amongst pesticides all the time. It's really bad. And of course you don't get paid anything, right? Like it's truly awful work. And I think also, somebody like Julian, he's not only giving back to his community and, like you said, providing inspiration, but giving people ideas of other paths, I guess, in communities that are kind of overlooked a lot. And, one of the things that we hear about with California and California soccer is LA is so talent rich. There are so many talented players, but there's a whole bunch of talented players in the Central Valley too that are never, they never get an opportunity. And Julian was one of the lucky ones who did. He did get spotted when he was pretty young, and got hooked up with a couple of really big academies before he turned pro. Not everybody does. And now, I think for the Galaxy, they also have this opportunity to really kind of become the Central Valley's team, right? Like they got
Yep.
one of their
Yep.
own on the team,
Hmm.
and not that it's all about the marketing, but I think that this is an opportunity for the team to sort of say, we're not just LA's team, and we know that there's a ongoing battle with LAFC over that, but they can say we're also the Central Valley's team. Like, come,
Hmm.
come support us. We're for you too. I think that could be pretty powerful on both sides.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you, and I like the point that you make because obviously, being in Southern California, you know of the bigger cities, you know those cities, you know of like, the Inland Empire, right? You know those in the cities, and where Julian Araujo comes from. Not a lot of people know where that is, and to your point, he's given them a voice. He's giving them a voice and a platform, and the LA Galaxy. On top of that, also I recognize by Julian Araujo, he's representing the LA Galaxy in their community as well. And on the other side, say the LA Galaxy decide to build a soccer field. I mean, I feel like it would just be great to build like a soccer field or something out there with the other Galaxy, right? Or name it the Julian Araujo. Julian Araujo soccer field or the Julian Araujo LA Galaxy soccer field. I don't know.
Nature field out,
Yeah,
in a spot where you don't have to worry about watering it, and give people a spot where they can go chill, and kids a spot where they can play. I mean, that sounds fantastic.
yeah. So LA Galaxy, if you're listening, that I think that's
You're welcome.
you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I guess you're welcome. Because it just it just makes sense, right? It literally just makes sense, and that's one way that it's a win-win situation for the community and for the other Galaxy, because with all the press that they're getting through this story that was written by Kevin Baxter, obviously I'm not the one writing the checks, but I can vouch for Julian Araujo and the city of Lompoc to get them a field, named after Julian Araujo for what he's doing. Or Julian Araujo might just say, I'll just do it myself,
Yeah, really.
But shout out to him, man, because yeah, because it's really motivating. Me even being Mexican, and obviously, I've experienced certain things. I got family. I don't have any families that work on the fields, but I got friends and stuff like that. So there's like a connection there, and I like what he's doing because I feel like Julian Araujo represents me as well. Like, because I'm Hispanic, and we've experienced similar things, but I'm not gonna say I know how it is to be live in a farm and pick crops and everything. I'm not gonna do that, but I understand how it is to be Mexican in America, and and I feel that connection, and I like someone that the way just he's younger than me and he's being a leader, right, and
Yeah.
outside of his community, and that's really big, and I really applaud him, and I really hope he makes all his dreams come true and is able to go to Europe if that happens this summer. I'm gonna be rooting for him.
For sure. No, I think that's a fantastic point. And, to be honest, like in soccer, we see a pretty sizable Latino population, but you're right that there just aren't that many like role models in kind of the broader society, who are of Mexican descent. Like still, in California, we see that a little bit more, but still it's unusual. So yeah, he's kind of a trailblazer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to him. Hoping he has a great season. And I like the number change and everything that goes with it in his community. But now let's move on. Let's talk about Christian Pavone. Like I said earlier, there's so much going on with him. Last week, or last few weeks, the LA Galaxy had made an offer, and it's been reported that it was 10 million for 50%. And I know I heard other numbers, 7 million for 70%. And those things some of those numbers have been confirmed by Pavone's dad. And also want to give credit to John Rojas because he's been tagging me on certain legal things. But first, I want to go to Christian Pavone's Instagram. He posted another thing, I'm assuming it's with his lawyers that, he took to a statement saying that his legal team, denies any of the earlier reports of the woman that, alleged him, and also about the travel restriction that was applied to him, because a lot of people were talking in Argentina that he wasn't going to be able to leave the country even if the LA Galaxy, bought him, but he shuts down all those reports. He's been talking with everybody with the investigation, and he's been really working. So it makes it really tricky. And then on top of that, Christian Pavone's dad, I think went to the media press, and so is going at it with Boca Juniors because he said no one called to check on Christian Pavone after he had his surgery. He talked about the offer that the LA Galaxy made 10 million for 50%. I guess Boca's still deciding. So there's a lot of anger, and I feel like the emotion there, and we still don't even know if Christian Pavone's going to come to the LA Galaxy, and it's getting trickier and I think a little bit messy. But I think one thing I do like is that Christian Pavone has been working with the investigation, and that he doesn't have a travel restriction. What do you make of this whole situation within the last week or so?
Well, I'm learning a lot about the Argentine legal process on the fly. So,
Hmm.
I won't pretend to be an expert on it, but um, from what I understand, he does have some sort of like, you have to tell us your whereabouts while an investigation is going on. He had an order from a judge to, and some people interpreted that as a travel ban, and others said, including him, he says, no, it's not a travel ban. It's just, I have to keep them, let them know where I'm going, if I'm going anywhere, if I'm, if they need me for the investigation, that kind of thing. So I'm not sure how serious it is. I mean, by American standards, that's super serious. If a judge kind of limits your movement, that's a very serious thing. Maybe in Argentina, it's not quite as severe or, punitive. Maybe it's more kind of normal, not a big deal. We're still, in terms of the investigation itself, it sounds very much like a he said, she said situation. He's said that he is countersuing after his accuser, has been pretty persistent in accusing him of sexual abuse. Um, and there's all kinds of rumors and gossip and whatnot going around. So um, I haven't talked to the Galaxy directly about it, but you can kind of read between the lines of those who have, and the fact that they did re-up for, to provide another bid on Pavone. They do not seem to think that this is a significant thing. So I guess they believe he will be exonerated, and that there's no basis in it. Um, I hope that they have, good reason for that. It's always tricky in these situations. And, I don't want to be in a position where I'm saying, well, they say it's fine, so I'm going to, I'm going to say it's fine. Of course it's fine. It's these situations are very tricky. So I think last time I talked to you about this, we both were kind of like on the fence. Like, it's hard to say what's going on and what's real and what's not. So we have to kind of let it play out. And I think that that's still kind of the case. So we'll see. It sounds like things are proceeding. To me, it's a little bit concerning that he had double ankle surgery. It sounds like he's only going to be out for a couple of months. So maybe it's not so bad. But for him to have surgery, I guess without Boca Juniors approval, and then the Galaxy are not actually, as far as I know, directly involved in the surgery, that seems like a huge risk to let a player just kind of go out and do his own thing and see what happens. It's a little bit scary. But I'm guessing there's some sort of back channel, staying in touch about the situation, that kind of thing. But really, it's just a big mess, honestly. Like, the legal case itself, and then everything else, it's just a huge mess. And I wrote about it last week, kind of recapping all the different elements of this saga, as of that point. I mean, I think this could drag on for weeks or maybe months at this point. So I don't know. I really don't know, when we're going to see a resolution to this.
Yeah, it makes it interesting. I think the thing that you mentioned about him getting surgeries for his ankle fibrosis, he did have to get approval from Boca Juniors on that. And I'm with you. I think the Galaxy wanted to do the surgery, but Boca Juniors did not accept that offer. And from what I understand was like the Galaxy wanted to have for him to have the surgery now. Obviously they don't own him, but he's going to be out for 2 months. So if he's
To get
out,
it over with.
yeah, to get it over with now, six to 8 weeks, essentially is 2 months. He's probably going to miss like a week or two of the season. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know how fast a player can recover from fibrosis. I'm assuming it's not like an ACL surgery or anything like that. So I'm assuming he's going to be able to recover pretty quickly. Obviously, I don't know if he's going to be able to play within a week or whatever. I feel like if he's going to take 2 months, by that time, you bringing him slowly, and he's barely, now that the season got pushed back by like 2 weeks, it kind of just goes with plans with the LA Galaxy. But if you're the LA Galaxy, you wanted to have the deal done. You wanted your doctors, to have the surgery and everything like that. But obviously, Boca's making all those things. It's making decisions. We're not in Argentina. We don't know. We're not seeing this. We don't know if this is being played on the news and every second, every day. Who knows how it would be over here if it was like an NFL player, NBA player, a baseball player, right? We would see it we would see the news every day, and I think that's what also makes it tricky. And it may disconnect us from a few different things. But what I do like is that Pavone's coming out with his lawyers and saying, "Hey, I'm talking with everybody. This is what I'm doing." Obviously, I don't know if he did it or anything like that, but some of the things that are being brought against him. Again, I'm not a lawyer, and I've talked to this, with Galaxy Profile last week. Eric the Hammer. We talked about this, and it's a dicey situation. But from the sense that I've been getting from the LA Galaxy, they feel very comfortable on moving forward with Pavone because it sounds to me that where the woman is coming from, there's really no basis with it, and I think what we've seen how the LA Galaxy have treated certain situations, and I'm pretty sure they have more information than us, and they feel very comfortable to keep putting offers, keep sending offers and everything. I think the tricky part now it becomes if he doesn't have this travel ban. I think the tricky part now comes with Boca Juniors of that 10 million for 50%. What do you think of that?
Well, I was about to ask you about that. I mean, I think one of the things that's curious for me is I think he's reaching an age where it's going to be tough for him to go to Europe, honestly. I think it's like he either needs to go to Europe now or he's probably not going to go to Europe like on a sale, maybe, on a free at some point he would go at some, maybe. But I kind of feel like it's a now or never situation. So on one hand, I think if the Galaxy get 50% of his rights, then fair enough because it's probably unlikely he's going to be sold on. Like I just don't see a lot of scenarios where like a Spanish team Sevilla comes in and pays like 25 million for him from the Galaxy. Like I just don't think that that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're making, let's say, a $10 million bid for only half of his sell-on rights, but you're basically going to keep him for the life of his contract, then maybe that's not a terrible deal. But if they really think that they're going to be selling him on, like I feel really like I'm getting more and more skeptical, especially a guy, if he comes back and he's lights out, maybe it'll be different. But he's coming off double ankle surgery, legal troubles in his home country. He's starting to get to an age where it's like, we're not talking about potential anymore. Like this is it. This is the peak of your career. Do you think he's going to be sold on to Europe at some point?
I think there's opportunity that he will be able to be sold onto Europe because he's 25 years old. And I'm not really concerned with the ankle surgery because if he's able just to recover properly and doesn't have any issues, let's just put it out there. Let's say he doesn't have any issues. I know what Pavone can do,
Yeah.
and I know what he can do. I know, I have a sense of what Greg Vanny can do, and and you're having Chicharito now, looking like the Chicharito old. Obviously, we still got to see the finished product on the field. So I'm liking that, and like I said, I know what Pavone can do, and I know he's Argentinian and know what he can produce. I think it's like why I think one thing that I want to know is if they do buy him, if they end up buying him for 50%, for 10 million at 50%, is the market going to get back up? Is the market going to be that high up for him? I mean, Diego Rossi right now is at 22 million dollars. Pavone could potentially get there, if he has another breakout year. If the Galaxy had a great season last season, Pavone would have been up there. I feel like Pavone would have been up there. Obviously, they didn't. They had a terrible season. But I think if Pavone has another breakout year, if he leads the team with assists, or I know he was the leading goal scorer and assists, and lead the team with minutes, and if he's up there and he's up for the running for MVP for these next couple years, I think they can sell him on. And if the market gets back to where it's supposed to be, I don't know how long it's going to take. It may take 1 year. I think it may take like 3 years, honestly. For whatever they sell them, say they get 20 million, or they get 25, or whatever they get on for that selling clause. At least the Galaxy will get some. They'll get their money back and potentially some. But I think the tricky part comes is what is his peak, right? What is the highest the Galaxy could realistically sell him for? 25 is probably right now the highest, if he had a breakout season this year. But is a team in Europe financially able to do that? Are they going to want a 21-year-old or 18-year-old, 17-year-old, right? Because
Right.
one thing that comes into my mind, Barcelona wanted Carlos Vela at 29 years old. Obviously, it was on loan, but they wanted Carlos Vela, who played in the MLS. They wanted him, and Carlos Vela also confirmed, but where LAFC did not want to let him go.
Right.
So, and Carlos Vela's at 29 at that age, and Christian Pavone's 25. So that's a 4 year difference, and I can see that. If they want to loan him, or a team from Europe comes out there, I could definitely see him. I just think comes, what number will Pavone be? What is Pavone's highest number that he could get to? I think right now would be 20, 25. Maybe I'd just say 22.
Yeah.
Just to, because I'd just say where Rossi's at right now, 22. I think that's just fair. 22 would be the highest. And then you have to give 50% of that
Right.
to Boca Juniors. So, I guess you could get your money back, and maybe $1 million, $2 million off of that. But if you win an MLS Cup, let's say, I don't know if that will happen this season, but if you win an MLS Cup next season, or within the next 3 years, let's say this: the Galaxy win an MLS Cup within the next 3 years, and Pavone wins an MVP, then I think it really makes sense. And I think the way potentially Dennis the closest thinking about this, and the LA Galaxy is thinking about this, we know Pavone is arguably, I would put Pavone top three, top five in the league if the LA Galaxy are playing well.
Right.
I put him up there, like that top three. I would literally put him up there. I'd argue against anybody that Pavone deserves to be up there. Now, if the team has to be great, though, the LA Galaxy have to be great, and they have to be winning. And I think with Greg Vanny, with Chicharito, and the pieces that they're bringing in, I think it's worth the risk, because you know what Pavone can produce.
Yeah, that makes sense. You've kind of talked me off the ledge a little bit. I mean, it does sound like a lot of things have to go well for them to have a
Hmm.
realistic shot of actually selling him on if they do buy him. But yeah, you've laid out a path. I mean, it makes sense that it's still conceivable, um, if maybe not a certainty at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it just comes down to when they get this done. It just really comes down to when it gets this done. If it's 10 million for 50%, that's what Boca Juniors essentially wanted. He's at 20 million. He's priced at 20 million. So I'm just wondering, what's the holdup? Is it the legal situation that's the holdup? Maybe because I mean, Boca Juniors is getting what they wanted.
But yeah, actually, I think it's not the legal situation, because if he was really in trouble, Boca would have sold him like already. Like they would have, they'd be like, we have a distressed asset. Like we got to get rid of this guy
Hmm.
before it really goes south and the Galaxy change their mind. They're not. They're standing pat. So I don't think it's that, because otherwise, if Boca really thought that he was in trouble and that he could be going to jail or something like that, they would be working like double time to get this transfer done before, so
Hmm.
he's not a player if, the book really came down at him, get him off their hands. So I don't think that those things are necessarily connected as far as the actual transfer bidding between the clubs at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, to me, it's just like, then why it's just Boca, it's just Boca being Boca. They just want to make it difficult, and that's what it comes down to, I guess. Them being, this is how they want to negotiate. That's what what we laid out. This is what was offered. Obviously, we know the legal troubles. That's not going to stop Pavone from traveling and going to the LA Galaxy, um, then what is really the holdup? Is it Boca just being stingy or being upset the way Pavone has treated them? Are they upset that Pavone's dad now talking to the media? Boca Juniors front office people, or the soccer council, I think they call it out there. They may just be upset at that. I really don't know. Obviously, we're not in Argentina, but they're literally getting what they want, and I'm just curious why hasn't this been finalized then yet? Because, and I think the Galaxy they still have some time, right? The preseason starts March 1st, and as of yet, Pavone's the number one guy, and
Right.
there's Pavone's. Let me put it this way: Pavone's number one guy, number two, and number three at this point.
Yeah.
At this point, so it's like, they've showed the cards, and this is who it is, so I think they're gonna make it happen, even if they gotta wait till April, because say for whatever the reason they can't get it done, then you just gotta wait about like a couple months, and then you get the summer transfer window.
Well, actually, the window's weird this year. So they adjusted the transfer windows. So the window is going to close at the beginning of June. The current window is going to close at the beginning of June, and then it's going to reopen at the beginning of July. So, I mean, hopefully this isn't dragging on into July, but
Yeah.
even if it does drag and it goes until the summer, um, the window itself within MLS is not going to be closed for very long. So they'll have plenty of time to get a deal done anytime in that interim. And it's not going to be a matter of only if they sign between the windows being closed in June, would he sign, and then he has to wait until the window opens back up. That's not going to be a problem, because the windows are basically going to be open for the majority of the season, and I think they're only going to close like late in the fall before the end of the season.
Yeah. No. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I just think, I know some Galaxy fans, then they're feeling stressed. They feel that some people, they should move on from them. I don't think so. I don't think so, because of the things that outside of the legal stuff, what you're getting from Pavone. Like I said, top three player. I just wonder how long LA Galaxy's front office is willing to wait. We know, was it Minnesota that waited like 9 months to negotiate? And I'm assuming the Galaxy were negotiating even before December 31st. So
Right.
it has been. We're 2 months into the new year. We're about to be in March. So it's about 3 months. But I would even add the last 2 months of the last year. So I would say like at least 5 months that they've been ongoing negotiations. So it is being dragged out. So I just want to know how long are they, or if the Galaxy, we're willing to wait no matter what until we get him. And I don't know if the LA Galaxy front office is going to come out and say that. But I think if you're an LA Galaxy fan, you have to understand that that may be the case. And if you don't want to wait, that's unfortunate. But the way things are looking right now, Pavone is the guy.
Yeah, it's a high stakes situation, and I mean, if they're in it, they're in it. They just have to get through it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope it gets done this week, to be honest with you. I hope it gets done this week, because, I'm like, I'm annoyed that I can't have to keep talking about this situation, but it's just what it is, right? It's, I'm not controlling the cards, we're just here to talk and, give our opinion, but I really hope it is this week, or it is, in March sometime. It's just tricky, because I think if you're Boca, I think this, I don't know if this is an Argentinian thing, or that's the way of negotiating out there. I don't know if that's how it is, or if that's a Boca tradition that you got to be difficult in these situations, or
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. It's South American teams, they're used to being selling clubs. So if you're reliant as a selling club, then you have to make sure that you're getting, a good amount for every player that you're selling. At the same time, I think Boca are, because they're a big club in South America, I think that they can play hardball a little bit better than most teams. So they do. I think, like when I was writing about it last week, like every transfer that involved Boca Juniors that I could think of with MLS, in the last several years, like every single time it was like, oh, this was the worst transfer I ever went through, says the MLS GM, but it was worth it because we wanted this player so badly. So in that respect, I think it's par for the course, which is unfortunate for the Galaxy. It's unfortunate for us who have to go through the blow by blow over months. But I think it's just how it's done.
Yeah, and I mean it's gonna be worth it if Pavone ends up being for the Galaxy, man. Because I really love watching him play, and he goes 110%. Every single like he even the terrible season that they had last season, 110%. And hats off to that guy. And I will even if they were losing, he was still hustling. And that I like seeing a player like that, and that's why I think Dennis DeClose in the front office are going after him because they know what type of player he is. They know what he can do for this team. But it's just being patient. It's just even us. I know even myself. We have to be patient, and even if we have to talk about this whole situation for another month, we'll do it. We'll do it. but that's the latest on Christian Pavone situation there. Obviously, we just talked about the MLS season starting March 1st. I think there's a 7-day quarantine. Correct me if I'm wrong. There's a 7-day quarantine, and then I think it says right here, team training gets underway March 8th. Do you have more information on that 7-day quarantine? Are they quarantining in hotels or where?
I'm not sure if they're quarantining in hotels, but basically, like anytime from when the league announced the open of preseason last week, up until March 1st, players can voluntarily report early and go through the quarantine early. So I believe Jonathan Dos Santos, for example, has been doing that. He's already hard at work in Galaxy, training sessions, but they're strictly voluntary, and they can't be run by the coaches. So it's sort of like an opportunity for players to kind of jumpstart their fitness a little bit more without having like full on training sessions for CBA reasons. Everyone has to report by March 1st. And then once you've cleared the 7-day quarantine, then you can participate in the full group activities, and the coaches can participate as of March 8th, I believe. I think that coaches may be able to participate from March 1st. Like I know one team, I think it was the Chicago Fire, got a waiver, and so they just started their like 7-day quarantine. So they're going to start on the 1st, I guess, with the full group activities, all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming most other teams are going to do something similar. Kind of, not being strictly March 8th is when we start everything, but there'll probably be a little bit of wiggle room in there. But they're kind of ramping up on the preparations, but we've seen, like I said, some of the Galaxy guys kind of get show off some of their training stuff in the facility. So I think that they're very much underway, and they'll be getting going pretty soon as a group as more and more of them join up.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the times we live in, but I'm exciting that now we're going to start seeing those preseason photos. I'm assuming we may have a preseason schedule come out. Some teams, I'm assuming local teams will play. Obviously, we don't know the schedule this season. Obviously, if we remember what last season, LAFC and LA Galaxy had to play each other like 3 or 4 times. San Jose. So I'm interested to see how they do it this year, because I just go off what the NBA is doing. The NBA, obviously, every team's playing each other, but they have some way of they'll play each other twice in the same week. So I'm interested to see what the preseason schedule will look like, and also obviously the season schedule, because we don't want to see. As much as I like the rivalry, LAFC versus LA Galaxy, I think that was last season, and I think 3-3 is maybe the most you may want to see for an El Trafico. I don't know. You may want to see 4, but I think it can't be that many the same. And I just want to see how the schedule gets worked around. Obviously, the biggest thing that's worrying the MLS is the Canadian teams, right? The Vancouver, Montreal, and Toronto. In the NBA, Toronto is playing in Florida. That's their home base. Is that going to be the same home base for the Canadian teams? You're going to have 3 soccer fields. If you remember, Vancouver played in Portland Stadium. I think they
Right.
played in the Portland Timbers, and I don't. And Toronto, I forgot where Toronto played, and I forgot where Montreal ended up playing.
Toronto played in Rochester, New York, and um, I think Montreal played in Red Bull Arena, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's right. We could be wrong, but I think that's what's holding this up, and and because essentially, if those Canadian teams, let's just put this, if they move to Florida, every game is a road game. You
Right.
know, every game is going to be a road game for them. But if they're in Florida, they'll be able to have fans. Because of the laws down there, they'll be able to have fans. So I don't know, but I think I just want to know what happens with that, and I think we may get answers within the next month. At least we hope so. But yeah, it's an exciting time. I just want to see these guys, and if we're allowed to go to preseason games, see how some of the players, some of the new additions. Obviously, we get to see how Greg Vanny, starts at preseason formations and where he's putting players. I think that then we're going to get a better idea of how this LA Galaxy team is going to be looking. This 2021 season, because there's a lot. I think there's a lot of expectations for Chicharito. I think we're a country that we're willing to give you a second chance, but not a third chance. And I think this he has to produce. But everything I've been seeing has looked good. I think he just needs to put goals in the back of the net.
Yeah, he seems like he's focused and is really committed on being better this year, which is what you want to see. And like you said, we just have to see the results. But I also think that I'm really excited about Greg Vanny being the coach. I think he's going to substantially improve this team, and I don't know if they're quite at contender level yet, but I think he can make some big adjustments that'll improve the team on day one, and that means they should be competitive right away again. So that's good. That's a good starting spot. But yeah, like you said, it's a really exciting preseason because of that, because there's a new coach, and just seeing him work with many of the same guys from last year, to see the contrast between the coaches and what they can do and what they can get out of the group. I think that alone is going to be pretty exciting, in seeing what's possible for this team this year, because obviously we do not want to see another year where they're struggling, mired in the bottom, well out of playoff range. Like, we don't want, we want those days behind us, and we want to see a Galaxy team that's right in the mix yet again, and hopefully before long contending again.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'll have to see what happens. Just to finish off here, the LA Galaxy today announced the partnership with Honey. I think if you guys are familiar with Honey, my experience is they always pop up. I don't know how they got my extension, the extension got on my laptop, but it's always like whenever I'm gonna buy something, I get points, or I get correct me if I'm wrong if I'm explaining this wrong, but it's kind of like a coupon type of thing, but for your laptop. I guess is the best way I can explain it. But they partnered up with the LA Galaxy, so now they're going to be on the right patch. This is another way for the LA Galaxy to make money. Obviously, Honey, they're also, I think they're also the sponsor of, the LA Clippers.
The Clippers, yeah.
Yeah, so, we know Honey has money, but I think it also makes, gives it another source of income for the LA Galaxy, which we'll don't need, because we don't know when fans will be let in California. What do you make of this partnership?
Yeah, I mean, I think, if you're somebody who's like, oh, I hate sponsors on jerseys, then of course this is not going to be something you like. But I think if you are realistic and realize this is just the way of the world, then yeah, it's not a bad thing. Like, you want a team that's in demand, and we see MLS teams that can't get a front of jersey sponsor, and it's kind of a bad sign, I think, in a lot of ways, if you can't get a sponsor on the front of your jersey. And so being able to get a sleeve sponsor, I think, is good, and sort of shows that this company believes in the MLS team, that they're big enough that they want to tie themselves to the team's brand. I think you understand Honey better than I do. I basically understand it from the commercials with the Clippers, because I cover Clippers games, so I see their Kawhi Leonard commercials all the time, and I don't quite understand what they do, but something to do with internet shopping and yeah, coupons or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of worse companies out there. Let's put it that way. So I think this is a good partnership, and yeah, we'll see if there's any kind of other tie-ins or ways that it maybe benefits fans down the line.
Yeah, and it looks smooth. After seeing
Yeah,
the photos, it looks smooth. It doesn't, obviously some it may take some fans getting used to. I did see a fan say, I don't want to buy the jerseys now because it's going to be on there. But hey, look, if you're spending your money, you're spending, $100 or however much the jerseys are. I feel you, but this is a way for the team to make money. But I like it. It looks really smooth. And I think with the sponsors, I think it's all about placement, right? 'Cause sometimes I watch the MX, or it's just too much. You just got too many
right.
sponsors. Or a boxer, the boxer, they patch them up, like, the-
NASCAR.
yeah, they got so many patches. NASCAR too.
Yeah.
So I like that they're giving the teams an opportunity to do that. So I like it. It looks smooth. I don't think it takes away from the jersey. So we'll see what happens. How much, if this will affect the jersey sales, which I highly doubt. I think it's just going to take people a little bit to get used to.
Yeah.
But with that said, that's all the time we have, Alicia. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
No, just waiting for preseason to get underway. That's the big thing, right? Like we just got a few days here before it's really going to get underway, and then we can really start to look forward to the season ahead. And we're just kind of in a holding pattern on so many levels right now. So it'll
Hmm.
be exciting when things ramp up.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm excited for the season to start. We'll let the people know where they can follow you at.
Sure, you can find my work about the Galaxy at lagconfidential.com, and you can find me on Twitter at Soccer Musings.
Guys, definitely give her a follow. Definitely read her articles. They're always great. Oh, it's always great to have you on, Alicia. And guys, if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Gio Garcia LA. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to give this a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. You can also listen to this podcast on Spotify. Give us a follow on Instagram on LA Soccer Hub. We're posting a bunch of content there. We're also posting little clips of these, interviews with Alicia, who's so knowledgeable and always great, always great to hop on. But that's going to wrap